Live from our nation's capital, this is Washington Week with Gwen Ifill. From Washington, moderator Gwen Ifill.
Good evening. If you're paying only casual attention to the presidential campaign, it would be easy to miss the signs of a great showdown brewing, especially among Republicans. Viewed strictly as a horse race, Rudy Giuliani and Hillary Clinton are ahead in their respective parties, but it's too early to look at just that. Behind the scenes, you'll see a flood of early advertising, elbows thrown and returned, and a $100 million gap between what the Republicans and the Democrats are raising. Starting with the Republicans, Gloria, what's going on?
Well, Gwen, this is a very, very fluid race. And the money numbers that you were talking about this week really reflect that on the Republican side, because you have the top tier candidates really kind of bunched up there together. You have Rudy Giuliani raising $11 million this last quarter, Mitt Romney raising $10 million, Fred Thompson 9.3. Fred Thompson, as you know, is the new guy in the race. That was a pretty good number for him. And just bringing up the rear a little bit, old John McCain with $6 million. And surprise of surprises, Ron Paul, somebody a lot of us sitting around this table thought, well, he's not that serious a candidate, suddenly with $5 million. So, Gwen, you know, what have we learned? We've learned that Republicans who give money in primaries have not settled yet on who they believe their nominee is going to be. It's wide open. We've also learned that Mitt Romney is very serious about this race because in addition to raising $10 million, he wrote a check to himself for $8.5 million, which brings to the total of the amount he has personally invested, that's the word he likes to use, I'm investing in my own race, to $17 million. That's a lot of money. And we've learned that Ron Paul is out there and appeals to something among Republican voters. Maybe it's his libertarian streak, but you know, you can't deny that it's happening.
Well, what's the story with John McCain? It wasn't so long ago where people thought
6 weeks, maybe.
Yes, right. That he was going to, you know, he wasn't going to be a viable candidate. He was going to pull out, and now it looks like things are looking up for him in what's happening in New Hampshire?
Well, it's interesting because I spoke with one of McCain's money men who said to me, money follows politics. September was a very good month for John McCain. Why was it a good month for John McCain? The politics were with him. General Petraeus gave his report. McCain could finally stop being on the defensive about Iraq, having supported the surge and even wanting a larger surge, started his No Surrender Express, and made a virtue out of what many people thought had been a problem for him, which was his support for the war. So he raised 70% of that money in that month of September.
But September was an even better month for Hillary Rodham Clinton, who somehow managed to hijack the change message, which Obama had all summer, and take it for herself.
Yeah, I mean, a recent, this week, Washington Post ABC News poll says that she's now convinced Democrats that she's the candidate of change and not Barack Obama. Now, that is a trick. That's because she's the one who's also been proclaiming her Washington experience. Hillary Clinton has raised $27 million this last quarter. Let's not sneeze at what Barack Obama raised either, which was 20, but Hillary Clinton has become this kind of juggernaut because she has run a very careful, some would say plodding, cautious campaign to appeal to every group that was skeptical about her in the Democratic Party, and there were a lot of those. Now, on the Republican side, you don't really see that. Giuliani may be up in some polls, but conservatives, particularly evangelicals, are skeptical. So it's a much more wide open race.
Gloria, what about Fred Thompson? He was supposed to come in and be this breath of fresh air and really turn heads in the Republican primary. Is that happening?
No, and if you talk, well,
in a word,
let me just say this: when you talk to Fred Thompson's campaign, they will say it's just you folks in the media elite, which is us, saying he's not doing well. But when you talk to local reporters out there, they think he's doing really well. Fundraising is a lagging indicator. So the fact that he raised $9.3 million is really good, but it was probably based on the prospect of his great performance coming up in the fall. What we've seen from Fred Thompson, he's going to participate in his first presidential debate next week with Republicans, so we'll have to take a look at that, is less there than lots of people anticipated. They wanted him to be a rock star. Fred Thompson is kind of a low-key, law and order guy, you should excuse the expression, and he is not a rock star.
You couldn't resist that, could you?
No, I'm sorry. But he's not a rock star out there. And so it has been disappointing, but he does have the money now if he wants to start doing some advertising. And his big thing is, forget Iowa and New Hampshire, South Carolina. Yeah. That's his state.
What about this dark horse Ron Paul? Where is he coming from, and what prospect
Maybe
has
he's
he?
the breath of fresh air people thought.
Maybe, you know, maybe he is. And I don't, you know, honestly don't know the answer to your question. What I think it is that his libertarian, no government, lack of trust of government, no taxes message really resonates with people who are fed up. And so he
the anti-system vote.
The anti-system vote, and he taps into something, and the internet is a very good place to mine for those kinds of small contributions, and he's really done very well.
You know, on the Democratic side, he doesn't have the same internet presence, but Mike Gravel touches that same chord, I think.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you, Gloria.